What's up and welcome to the Gooner channel on a cold, stormy, miserable, sad, irritating night to be an Arsenal fan. Brighton won, Arsenal won, and well, we know what's at stake at the moment. Liverpool host Manchester United tomorrow with a chance of going 8 points clear with a game in hand. And so effectively, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone out there that really gives Man United hope. I don't. That means they're 11 points clear of us, effectively. And that is a huge amount to overcome. Obviously, it's been done before. I'm not going to sit here and say, look, it's, 97, 98, in 97, 98, we overcame similar odds to beat Manchester United. There are differences. And tonight's game kind of perfectly encapsulates why I think there isn't more confidence amongst the Arsenal fan base. But so many people rushing to social media platforms to declare it dead and over. And I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm going to go one better and say that this result, as irritating as it was, particularly for someone who's married into a Brighton family, even though it was a deeply frustrating match, given that we'd gone a goal up and just didn't show anything, it doesn't affect my forecast for the outcome of the season. I still have us at 86 points at the end of the season because I actually predicted that we would draw against Brighton. Last season, of course, we managed to do the double over them. This season, they've been in worse form. Hercela's not getting a tune out of the team yet. And I think there were some comments he made after the team that might mean he's not going to make it at Brighton. So this is not Brighton in full flight. This is not the best iteration of Brighton that we've seen in the last few years. So a goal up, we needed to do more. It felt like just another occasion this season where we've been too defensive, played too within ourselves. There weren't any really good performances to speak of. Obviously, Ethan Nwaneri was a bright spark. And if that goal had been the winning goal, would have been a feel-good factor around us. We have games to look forward to in the League Cup semi-final, the FA Cup third round, and of course, very soon, a chance to see how bad Tottenham are at the moment. But let's focus on Arsenal, because this was disappointing, not just because of the result, not just because this is a Brighton side who've been in really poor form. My father-in-law talking about the fact that he gave himself a Christmas present of Sky just before Christmas, and he's going to get rid of it because he hasn't seen Brighton win on it yet. So they are in bad form, but people are rushing all over themselves to say that the title is over, and you can't really argue with them. I don't see it that way. I think there's still a long way to go, but I'm not going to pretend I'm hugely optimistic. In order to have a stab at this title, we're going to have to do something we did last season, which is go on a phenomenal end of season run. We're pretty much going to need to win almost all of our games. That sort of craziness, which is, I know we did it last year, but the circumstances were different. One of the key things is it's gloomy around Arsenal now. It was gloomier around Arsenal this time last year. The main difference, though, was we took the team away to Dubai and had them rejuvenated, and they came back well rested. That's not going to happen this season because, of course, we've got Newcastle in the League Cup semi-final first leg. Then we've got the FA Cup. There's just too many games coming too thick and fast. And, of course, unlike last season, we're without our arguably most creative, incisive player. And I know it's really encouraging when you see someone like Ethan Nwaneri coming into the team and having a go. And that's one of the things that's typified all of his performances this season. He does want to have a go. He's one of the few players who will have a shot, who will drive a goal. Without Saka, though, is Ethan Nwaneri's no one's idea of a perfect replacement. At 17 years old, it's too much to ask him to carry the hopes of our team. Jesus had one of those games today where you look at it and think, yeah, this is not going to work. He is not the striker that's going to lift us to overtaking Mo Salah's Liverpool. Obviously, something could happen to Mo Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk and Mo could all leave this January. Something like that level of catastrophe could happen. They haven't played all their toughest games yet. They could still drop points. They will still drop points. But the confidence that we need to have in our team is being undermined and eroded, because this was a performance from quite a few of our players that was well below par. Perhaps I'm just kind of imagining it, but Saliba doesn't seem to have been himself in the last couple of games. And I worry that this is down to being tapped up by Real Madrid and his head not quite being in it. Martin Odegaard coming back from injury, then having an impact on the game when he came back, and then a newborn baby that seems to have taken his focus away. People were saying after the match, apparently, that he'd been suffering from this bug and he'd been up all night, and he kind of played like it when he came on. Kai Havertz missing again. You get to see how important he is to us. Thomas Partey in the right-back position because of the suspension to Timber. And I think Thomas Partey has been one of our better players this season, but just not at right-back. So across the pitch, I thought Trossard... It still baffles me that the Brighton lot boo him. I think that's totally out of order, but, it's not my place to tell Seagulls what to cheer and what to boo. He looked better than usual. He had the bit between his teeth. But there's that shot shyness. And I think we aren't playing with the verve and the guile that will give our fans confidence. And I think that this is going to get worse over this transfer window because so many fans are holding out hope for this big transfer that could come in and save the day. I did a video the other day on Alexander Isak. Thanks for your likes and comments on that. Got a few comments from people who just saw the title and thought they had to respond. I don't think we're getting Isak either. So when people leave in a comment, you're not getting Isak, I don't think Newcastle, particularly after they beat Spurs today, and they are... Looks like we're going to get 5 Champions League places. According to the Carling Opta computer, it's a 97% guarantee we're going to get 5 Champions League places. So Newcastle could well finish in the Champions League, which is what Isak wants. And there aren't really the players out there. I'm seeing now that Marmoush might be going to Manchester City and they're thrilled about it. On the subject of Marmoush, I just want to say what I said in the live stream the other night. Is how comes no one wanted him in August? Suddenly deciding that a player is the best thing since sliced bread because he's had a good 4 or 5 months seems to me a little bit hopeful, over-optimistic, lacking cautiousness, lacking common sense. But, fair enough. If Man City go out and get Marmoush, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen either. Victor Osimhen is now being heavily linked with Manchester United. Everybody wants these players to come in January to save the day, and we need one because... The fundamental problem around our team at the moment is that we're too thin. The bench today proves that. Obviously, a tough time of year with bugs going around, overtiredness, injuries that have kicked in, suspensions don't help. All of that is true. But our bench last season was a real problem because our first 11... who we're not going to be able to use this season anyway. Our first 11 obviously includes Bukayo Saka. But our first 11 that did so well for us last season, particularly after that rest in Dubai, the bench looked really thin. Arteta never trusted the bench. People like Fabio Vieira, Emil Smith-Rowe, Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson on the bench that were never getting called up. Well, it's gotten worse. Frankly, it has gotten worse. Because tonight's bench had Gabriel Martinelli and Martin Odegaard. I thought Gabriel Martinelli was a shock omission, if I'm honest. He's looked good recently, so I guess he might have a bug or something. Martin Odegaard, as I've already said, looked like he'd been up all night throwing up. Neto on the bench, he's never getting a game. Kieran Tierney looks like he's going to Celtic this month. Alexander Zinchenko, I don't think he's going to get a game anytime soon. Jacob Kivior, who's constantly linked with a move to Italy. Miles Lewis-Skelly, who, for all that he has been hugely impressive in that position. Calafiori today, I thought looked okay. I think he played quite well. Then you've got Ismail Kabia and Nathan Butler-Oyedeji. And look, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade, but these two players aren't coming on and changing a game in the Premier League. So we're 4 or 5 players short on that bench, and it's not all easily explained by the injuries. Yes, Kai Havertz out. Yes, Kieran Timber injured. Yes, Bukayo Saka probably out till April. Ben White still out. Tomiyasu, I'm beginning to think I made him up or that he doesn't really exist. I can't remember. He hasn't played this season, so okay, Tomiyasu isn't a player that necessarily makes a big difference or would have been that much use on the bench. But Raheem Sterling, still out. And we were given false hope, and we were given some kind of hope that he might be better soon. So we are at the moment putting teams together, playing people in the midfield today. Marino, Jorginho, and Declan Rice. I felt a bit overkill. But then, like I say, who'd you put in instead of them? So we need to go and get players from the transfer market. Probably not going to get the big marquee signings that everyone suddenly puts the scares up everybody. We're probably not going to go out there and sign Danny Olmo, Ademola Lookman, Nico Williams, Victor Osimhen, Victor Gyökeres. These are the kind of names that the fans want. And if they don't get them, if they instead do a kind of 2 years ago transfer window where we brought in Jorginho and Trossard, I think the move's going to turn a bit ugly. It could get worse for us this week if we don't have a really good performance against Newcastle. Because if that's a draw or a narrow win, going to St James's Park at the moment with a form Newcastle in with a patched up side, that would be deeply frustrating to get to the semi-finals of the League Cup and then knocked out by Newcastle. Look, overall, I know how we're all feeling. It's miserable, it's gloomy, it's shit. But that isn't necessarily because of this result tonight. As I said, I forecast that we would draw away to Brighton. I thought if we could get 4 points out of the game away to Brentford and Brighton, that was doing good. The next 2 Premier League fixtures are, of course, Spurs at home, managed by Ange Postecoglou. It might be one of his last games in charge. And we have got to win that. We've got to win that. If we don't win, I forecast 3 points against Spurs and 3 points at home to Villa. Then we go away to Wolves. I think we've got enough about us to beat them. Then we have Man City at home, and I think we beat them as well. So I'm seeing 12 points. Actually, when I put this forecast together, I gave us 1 point at home to Man City, and that could be fair. I think we'll finish on 86 points. I think Liverpool will finish on 86 points. My big concern at the moment is that they might finish on more than that because they do look really good. An 11-point lead this point of the season is a huge challenge, and it's a huge challenge if your team looks like it's up for it. We don't at the moment. We look far too happy to try and defend narrow leads. We look far too lacking in creative ideas. We are going through a bit of a tough patch, but this is what I want to end the video on, because your support is at its most important, not when we're winning and beating all teams. Being an Arsenal supporter isn't just about rubbing it into Tottenham and Chelsea and laughing at other teams. It's about standing by your team when they're not doing very well. And we aren't doing as badly now as you would think, given the outpouring of anger and frustration. But when something happens, when a result goes against you in football, of course, a natural instinct is to be angry. It does make us angry. We can be angry with the referee. Was that a penalty? Yeah, I kind of think it was. He headbutted him in the area. If it had happened to us, I'd be calling for a penalty. It's not the worst decision I've ever seen, and we shouldn't have been relying on the referee at that point. We should have gone on, got that second, or turned our control in the first half into something meaningful. Disappointing to see Wanyeri come off. All the speculation that he came off down because he was on a yellow card. Apparently, he's actually got some sort of muscle strain, so we're going to need him against Newcastle because he has still got that youthful enthusiasm and that directness that we absolutely lack. As for Gabby Jesus, if it was me, if I was Arteta, I would just be sitting down with him over hot coffee and just saying, when you get the ball, shoot. There were about 4 occasions today where he passed instead of shooting, and that's not working. Possession doesn't win games. We are, at the moment, this boa constrictor trying to squeeze the life out of opponents when occasionally we need to have the lightning quick attacks of a cobra. I'm not stretching this snake metaphor any further. What I am saying, though, is that right now, Arsenal fans, sing up, stand up, and of course other fans are going to laugh and say we've bottled it. Apparently we're the only team that ever bottles anything. It's not over yet. It's not over yet. You don't have to be hopelessly optimistic and think we're definitely going to win it. But whilst we're in it, we can still win it, and we sing like we're going to win it. All right? Let me know in the comments how you feel. Let's try and keep it positive. Doing a watch along tomorrow for the Mauling, Manchester United visiting Anfield. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Not much. And then, of course, looking forward to Newcastle's game. And I'm going to be doing a transfer video as well, just to keep everyone in the loop. Not trying to put you off that, but this transfer season, this is not the time to be going out and buying the players that win us leagues. Nobody ever buys players in January that end up winning the league. Go and look at it. If you can think of a single player that's helped their club win the league that they signed in January, comment below. You won't be able to think of one. Till I see you again. Stay positive, for God's sakes. Be lucky and lots of love.
Subscribe.
And now that we're filming...
Oh!
Go for it!
People, now subscribe.